But we ask the question then, who were the very first witnesses to the resurrection and the empty tomb? Well, if you're going to make up a story about the resurrection, here's something you do. Jesus comes out of the tomb. He's as tall as a mountain. 2 angels flank next to him on side. They're as tall as he is as well, as tall as a mountain. Behind him from the tomb, there emerges the cross that he was on. The cross emerges from the tomb. And it speaks, and it tells God in heaven that the gospel has gone forth to those in Sheol. And this is seen by Pilate, the Roman guards, the Jewish leaders, and onlookers. This is a story. This is Christian fiction. Well, I wouldn't call it Christian fiction. This is false Christian fiction from the Gospel of Peter by the Gnostics, which is written in the 3rd century, so some 400 years later. Well, what you wouldn't do is this. Mark 16, 1 through 7. When the Sabbath was passed, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And the very early of the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, and they went to the tomb. And they were saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance of the tomb?" And looking up, they saw the stone had been rolled back. It was very large. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were alarmed. And he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him? But go, tell the disciples and Peter that he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him, just as you were told." So we have Jewish women as the eyewitnesses. Well, why is this important? Well, in Jewish culture of the time, women were not regarded as credible witnesses. Jewish historian Josephus writes, "Let not the testimony of women be admitted on account of the levity and boldness of their sex." Josephus never uses female witnesses in his writings except when he's forced to do so, as women of a battle were the only survivors. Women in most cases were not called to testify in trials and establishing sin. It wasn't forbidden, but it was unusual cases. And there is no biblical basis for this either. This is Jewish social norms. Socially, women were on the lower rung of the Jewish social ladder. A Jewish rabbi writing in the Jerusalem Talmud, which is part of their kind of expanded teaching, said, "Sooner let the words of the law be burnt than delivered to a woman." Rabbinical text Kiddushin says, "Happy is he whose children are male, but unhappy is he whose children are female." Or the prayer of the Jewish Mishnah says, "Blessed are you, Lord of God, our God, ruler of the universe, who has not created me a woman." In historical studies, the argument from embarrassment is a good indicator of truth. You are less likely to lie about yourself or being foolish or wrong, and to put it down in writing lends credibility to your source, right? So we look at the Gospel of Mark with Peter. He talks about his denial of Jesus. That's a big thing to admit, of turning or not speaking up and turning away even to a small child who Jesus was to him. The gospel writers talk about how they didn't understand what Jesus was teaching at the time and had to be babied along by Jesus. And here, women witnesses were used as the first one, lends a lot of credibility to the story. They were the ones that revealed Jesus was gone, and they were the ones to go and tell the men, disciples, who were still hiding in the locked room. How embarrassing, but also how glorious.